Hello, everybody. So, we are talking about the title Research, Innovation, and Publication. So, this is the point of discussion or talk today, that what is basically the research is, what is innovation, and what is publication. So, anything which we are thinking or which we are going to search again, that is called to be as research. Or research means finding new things, finding new things. And if you will say what is the concept of the research, what is basically the research is to research. To research means to search again, that is research. To re-examine, and to investigate, and to test, and to inquiry, to analyze, to assess, examine, evaluate. So these are called to be as the research. So research here means to find something new, something novelty, having some novelty, that is called to be as research, or having some innovatory discussions in any of the findings, that is called what? Research. So research, it is also an examination process, investigative process. And what is finding? To find reliable solution of the problem through a systematic selection, collection, analysis, and interpretation of data. So while doing what? Selection, collection, and analysis, interpretation of data and things, literature, using related to the problem, using some methodology, so some procedures, that is supposed to be the research. So why we are going to do? We are going to do the research for finding some of the results, some new results, some innovations. We are going to any of the research that has to be performed. Now, a question in a mind comes while performing any research. What is important is, what is basically the importance? Why we are using? What is important while doing any of the research? While doing any of the research, the thing which is important is identifying a problem. Any of the problem that has to be identified. So, what is the problem? That is the identifying the problem is what? A theme of the research, the first initial of the research. Then after finding the result, after finding the problem, some problem statement would be there. We need to state, there is a need to state the problem after finding the problem. Now, if the problem that has been stated in terms of some objective function, either that objective function, that objective may be minimum, to minimize, and to maximize. That objective may be to minimize or to maximize. So that is the theme of the objective problem. Then what happens? What happens is, after identifying the problems as an objective function, we need to solve any researcher has to solve those problems objectives in terms of through the research methodology, applied methodology, or implemented methodology. And then after some procedures, some solvers may be used, some software may be used, some sense of questionnaires may be used, some hypothesis may be used while designing any of the research. And then what will happen? Then there would be some conclusions, there would be some results, and there will be some results of the research. And after drawing some of the results may come while analyzing some of the research variables. What are the research variables that has to be taken, and what are the different outcomes of those based on those results, which is based on the objective function, either to minimize or to maximize or whatsoever. And then after, what happens? There would be some conclusion, and there will be some references. Those references may be cited, or that may be taken into the consideration while describing any of the objective function, or objective function may be searched on those research problems, that how these kind of objectives that may be solved in previously, or what are the new things, what are the novelties that will be produced while performing any of the research. So what is now the innovation? Innovation means newness or the new procedure, what needs to follow, and what are the new findings. They are supposed to be the innovations. They are supposed to be the innovations or new things. And what are now next is After doing new things or innovative things, what are what is the process to publicize that research? To publicize, after finding novelty in some of the research, there is a need to publicize those research, publicize those research. So publication on the research is what it may be done in general, in research general, or in conferences via the means of some conference. That conference may be international conference, that conference may be national conference as well. So international conference or national conference, some book chapters may be contributed as a research article. So that may be any book chapter as well, international conference paper or national conference paper, or any kind of general, any kind of research journal. While research may be publicized or not be publicized, but while doing any of the research, whatever the steps would be, we just discussed here. We just discussed uh, as before. So now, what are the publications? What are the some of the topics which are related to publication? That is called citation. What is citation? Citation means to cite any of the research work in any of the research paper or research. So that is called citation. Citation means to cite or take reference of whatever work already has to be done. So if that is in terms of general, that is called general citation. General citation, and there will be a report also regarding to this, that is called general citation. General citation report or research general citation report. Now there are also called to be as patents. What are patent? Patent are the things based on the new discoveries. They are called patents. Patents may be somehow design patent, or yes, or that may be utility patent as well. So patent means to copyright something or to make an assurance for some of the discoveries that is supposed to be in terms of patent. So that is somehow the part we will take into further discussion. We will take into further what? Further discussion about the patents and the projects as well. So what are the citation? There will be some patent citation or some normal citation. If we talk about the research citation, that is nothing but a reference also. So what is open access journals? Open access journal means which are open and which are not producing any of the cost to open. So they are open access. While publicizing, they have taken APC, that is called article processing charges. Then after, they are open to the all the readers who are going to read that research, any kind of research. So that is called, which is open access. So open access is this. Now there are called article processing charges or article processing fees. So article processing charges may be there to publicize any of the article, that is called to be as article APC, article processing charges. And one more thing which is important is, let us suppose there are publishers in terms of engineering. So that is IEEE is there, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, and that may be anything. That may be like any that may be IEEE or something elsewhere may be there, or there are many more, Taylor and Francis. So these are some of the publishers generals. So we are going to do, these are some of the generals on which we are going to publish our research. So IEEE general may be there, IEEE conference would also be there. So we any of the body may publish either in IEEE journals to their research, or through the medium of IEEE conference. So this is the thing. So next is what about fraudulent research, because research may also have somewhat ethics on, because there should be at least some work has to be done on the research work, at least some of the work that has to be done on the research. So some of the novelty should be there in the research. So that is supposed to be good research, and there are some of the scientific flaws and laws regarding to this, and there are interpretation should be clear, interpretation should be far clear, and there should not be what fraudulency in the research as well. So there should be a fair amount of research, and spasht, and that is clear, which is called as spasht in Hindi. So it means that there is a very clear description of the research, what we are doing, what are the conclusions, what are the problems, and how this problem has to be solved after making objective function, what methodology, what are the results, and what are the what conclusion that has to be drawn. So Now the word abstract is how to write any abstract, how to say abstract is the summary form. That is the summary form. The abstract is also having problem statement. That is also having problem area, methods or findings. Abstract is also covering with a smooth summary, a story like summary. A story like summary we need to write in the abstract. So abstract is having a good amount of everything that covers in few lines about the research, that is called abstract. Abstract is also containing data as well, or the whatever result produced in terms of data, that is comes under abstract as well, or in abstract as well. So if you will see, let us suppose, if you will see the standalone version of articles, so that is all, that is a preface of the any of the article, that is abstract also. That should be in word. And let us suppose there is a word called bar, BAARC. What is now? B for, yes, background, and then A for aim, and then again A for approach, and then R for result, and then C for conclusion. So by this way we are going to do while we are performing any of the research. Now the introduction portion, how to write. Introduction portion may be somehow in terms of present tense. Presently what we are doing, what is happening, and what is the scenario present. So presently what is the contemporary, what is the contemporary conclusions, what are the contemporary provisions regarding any of the research which we are researching, which the researchers is researching. That is the introductory portion, and that may assume somehow 2 pages, 3 pages, something like this. So it contains some scope, novelty, significance as well. So what is the now the methodology? Methodology also include tables, figures, graphs, and having some of the methods. By what method? What is the test system on which, or what are the questionnaires? What basically the method of performing any of the research, that is to be discussed in the methodology portion also. Now a publication portion, that may be having some transition papers, that may be having some applied journals, applied science journals, applied energy journals, if energy is there, applied environment journals, science journals, management journals, technology or engineering journals, that may be electrical, electronic, computer science, and whatsoever, mechanical, in civil, in whatsoever terms it may be. And in research paper writing, we need to follow some of the publication ethics as well. Publication ethics that has to be followed in research paper writing. Ethics here means what? Ethics here means to have some work, at least to have some work in the research paper, that seems to the contribution towards the research field. So what the contribution that a researcher has contributed, or what is the novelty, what is the new things, or what is the new dimension of thinking the researcher is going to produce. So that has to be there in the what, in the research also. Now what is uh, now what is peer review? What is peer review? To assess the validity, quality, and often the originality of article for publication, the peer review is there. Filter for the content, this is peer review is the filter for the content. And review means what? If some researcher would like to publish its research in some journal or conference, there is some review process, or reviewer is going to review the process. And then after reviewing the process, what will happen? After reviewing, the reviewer is going to decide either accept or not, or based on some of the few things. So if the research is supposed to be good, having some findings, then definitely it would be recommended and accepted, and then after, research has to be published. And reviewer is going to recommend some of the changes, may also be changes in the research articles if suppose, then it needs to be addressed again, and then represented again, presented, and then that has to be what sought out it. And what happened again, that reviewer is going to, again the reviewer is going to assess again, and if finds well, then definitely that research, that has to be what, that has to be published. In terms of research writing, if that research is what only verbal, then again it would be also checked, cross checked by some of the expertise, or then if it is supposed to be seen to be okay, then verbalized. So now what there is called to be as peer review, may be blind, single blind, double blind review may be there. Double blind review means there should be no name of the authors who is going to write, And after having any knowledge about the research, after having any knowledge of the author and the affiliation of the author, the only the content that has to be checked, it is called double blind review. So that is to be very fair enough, having some transparency in the journal, having some transparency in the publication work of the research. So this is called to be as the research work, which is to be imparted in, which is to be publicized. So publication work, while publication, we may also publicize the work as a book, or as a research journal, or as a research paper, or as a review paper, experimental research, or as a descriptive research, any kind of research, any kind of imperialistic research based on some data. So we will also do. Any of the researchers may also do, scientific notational person may also do. So to draw some conclusion based on the new things of the research, this research has to be done. So in this talk, what we discuss is what basically the research is, because this talk would be continued as a series, and then we will discuss further on this series that how to write the paper, what are the writing skills, what are the introduction, because in introduction, in abstract, everything has to be everything has to be written, and then again in introduction, everything should be in past tense, in present tense, in contemporary tense, and then after objective function should be clearly described as a what, as a mathematical or some theoretical aspect, whatever researcher has to do in its findings, by what on what topic, that is called objective, and then by what way, that is called methodology. What are the results or based on those objective, which is having followed by some methodology, and then what are the conclusions, what are the references, future outcomes also. So future further recommendations for having responsible research. So this is called to be as the research findings. What are the innovation? Innovation means to find something either as a project, either as a patent, either as a research. That is innovation. And the publication, to publicize those research papers, patents, innovations, and in some of the publishers, or if it will be publicized as a patent, that patent publishing is there and granting is there. So these are some of the things, or research paper publishing is there either as a conference or as a journal. So this is what basically the theme of the research on which we are discussing. In the coming series, in the coming talk, we will discuss more about how to write the paper, how to write it so thoroughly, we will discuss. And this is about the talk based on the research, innovation and publication.